What's up everybody, Tom Fazio here. Welcome to the channel if you're new, welcome back if you're not. In this video we're going to be doing a guided Qigong practice. Kind of a series of 3 exercises. They are progressions. This one is much more challenging than the one in the previous video, and it is slightly easier than the one that comes next. You need to establish a base for these. If you don't have a foundation in mindfulness, if you don't have a foundation in standing meditation, which I have videos on, you should check those out first. Do them at least for 4 to 6 weeks before you work on your progressions and go to that next level, right? But if you're an experienced meditator, a yogi, a martial artist, and you have a base in these, you might be able to dabble and start to experiment with these practices today without needing to then go back to the progressions that I use and teach, okay? These stem from my mind-body performance system, Weightlessness. These fall into the category of lightness training, which are advanced practices within the system, right? The base practices, kind of the mind-body conditioning phase, the weightlessness spectrum. That's what I generally teach throughout my tribes and my 100-day courses. This stuff gets taught a little bit less, but it's fun for us that are interested in this kind of thing, taking Qigong to that next level. These progressions can be great to experiment with and see where they go. So the last point before we get into it, each one of these, the reason there are 3 progressions is because the way that I see it, and from my studies, practice, and coaching, we don't need a lot of tools, but we need a few very robust tools that actually teach gradations of skill. So the first one, the one that we did in the last video, I call the Hollow Man practice, and it's foundational Qigong. It's essentially trying to fill the well, right? So we might look at the 3 stages of Qigong as accumulation, right? Finding a focal point, cultivating that energy center, making sure that we've got the well of energy filled. The next one we might say is distribution, or circulating that energy throughout the small universe, the governing and conception vessels in the body. That's what we're going to work on this time. Not an easy practice. It will take time. The one that we're going to look at in the next video is channeling, okay, which is actually after we've kind of filled the well, worked on circulating through the small universe. How do we then extend it to the extremities for the purposes of martial arts or healing types of practices, okay? Yeah, so why don't we get into it? You'll do this exercise seated. It is possible to do it standing, but it's much, much harder. I generally don't have people do that. I have people focus on standing meditation for passive Qigong practice. These are so intense when you start to practice them that there's a lot going on. It requires a lot of focus. You probably break out in a sweat. It's that intense. It's like getting a full workout once you get to that higher level of focus. So seated is just fine. Back should be unsupported, spine straight, head drawn up as if by a string from the crown point. Shoulder is externally rotated to find our neutral spine and center of balance. Then relax down and back. Hands can be gently rested in the lap is just fine, or on the knees. Both are okay. And so if you've seen the last video, that's what we're going to start with. It's great to start with either 5 or 10 minutes of standing meditation or the Hollow Man practice before moving into this, just to kind of calm down the nervous system, relax a little bit, become a little bit more sensitive and connected in the body, and ideally accumulating a little bit more energy in the dantian before we start to move into distribution. Okay? So, now that we're sorted, back is straight, unsupported, shoulders down, back and relaxed, head drawn up from the center as if by a string, chin tilted slightly down. We're going to close our eyes. And for the first few breaths, we're just going to bring our attention to our dantian, about 2 inches beneath the navel, 2 inches within the body. We're going to use our Hollow Man practice to visualize air and energy coming in not just through the nose, but through all pores of the body, through all parts of the body, and accumulating in the dantian as if a dense bead or marble or point of energy is expanding and drawing that energy in. And when we exhale, it doesn't dissipate or leave. It just gets contained so that every inhale it becomes a little bit more powerful, a little bit broader. Every exhale it remains. We're just going to do this for a few breaths and breathe in. And out. and out. In and out. Carry on for a few more breaths. And breathing in through the body, there is no skin, there's no muscle. You're held up only by your skeletal frame, air passing through you, feeding into the dantian, energy accumulating with every inhale. The chest and shoulders remain relaxed. The diaphragm is even relaxed. It's the lower abdomen that does all the work. And for the next few breaths, we're going to add the tongue pressed up against the roof of the mouth, just behind the palate. And we're going to gently tense the perineum, which is the muscle we contract to keep from going to the bathroom. With every inhale, the energy grows in the abdomen. The bead of light begins to swell. Okay, now as we begin the distribution phase of this meditation, you breathe in just as you have been. There'll be a slight pause at the peak. And as you exhale, you're going to release the perineum, relax the perineum, and visualize and focus on the third eye, the center of the forehead. Into the abdomen, tense the perineum. Relax the perineum and breathe out to the third eye. This is circulating that energy from the nose all the way to the dantian, and then from the dantian up the governing vessel to the third eye, and back down. The tongue is what connects these two meridians to one another to complete the circle. As hard as it is when tensing the perineum, try to remain relaxed. Relax the abdomen, relax the shoulders. Remain hollow, just as we were in the last practice. And as we exhale, we feed that energy from the abdomen, from the well, up to the third eye. And there can be a slight pause at the end of the inhale and a slight pause at the end of the exhale, as our focus shifts from one energy center to the other. Gently tensing the perineum as we inhale, the stomach expands, the energy expands. Relaxing the perineum, focusing on the third eye and allowing that energy to travel up the spine, over the crown point at the top of the head and settling into the third eye. And again. Okay, for the next few breaths, we're going to relax our rules. We're only going to bring our attention to the third eye, not worry about the tongue, the perineum, the breath. Return to your natural breath, but visualize condensing light in the center of the forehead, focusing all your attention into a single unified point. And to close out and base our energy out again, let's bring our attention back to the abdomen. Don't worry about any focal points, just relax into it. Allow your awareness, your consciousness to extend throughout the body, throughout the arms and the legs, feeling fully. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. Gently massage the eyebrows, following the line of the eyebrows. Massaging the temples, rolling them forward. Pressing on the point behind the ears and the crevice behind the earlobes. Gently pulling the earlobes. And gently massaging, fingers spread on the neck, back to front, and top to down in the front of the neck. Gently rotating the head. Yeah, so look guys, this is a much harder practice. Hopefully that was obvious. Coordinating the tension, relaxation of just the perineum, it adds, 5 or 10x the difficulty level. The hardest part is that you'll notice that it creates tension in the diaphragm, right? You start to tense that, and then it's very difficult to remain liberated and relaxed up here in the diaphragm, and at the same time, having a little bit of tension down below. That alone could take you several weeks of practice. So a lot of people will try this to say, oh, well, that's, that doesn't feel very natural, and they'll either abandon the practice or they won't really recognize it. But look, breath work and the visualization, they go hand in hand. You need to get that capacity level up, that coordination in the body to be able to feel those differences, nuances, control those different gates of the body so that they're not all connected. You actually are able to move and flow through them. It takes practice, and it's a lot harder than the hollow man practice, which is a lot harder than standing meditation, right? So for me, to move from the accumulation into the distribution practices, I didn't need that extra step. It was organic for me. There was one day where those channels opened, got just flooded with energy. It was an experience I'll never forget. I know where it was, what time it was, over 20 years ago now. And it's one of those types of moments that when it happens, it's just like, oh, that's what this is for. That's what this is about. It's a profound experience. It'll open you up to all kinds of shit you didn't know the body would do. But if you haven't felt it, you haven't felt it, and you got to trust the process. And so the reason that I have this practice as kind of a formal progression in lightness training is because not everybody naturally opened that window. And so this is that way of going. So let's say somebody's kind of filled the well and made connection, obvious connection on the Hollow Man practice, on accumulation, kind of opening, kind of filling the well, the Dantian. But then they're not quite able to either open the third eye or feel that circulation or energetic flow throughout the body, into the limbs, etc. These next two progressions essentially help you design that. So that's why they're very useful. There's other ways of practicing this, and there are a lot of other traditions that do this. For me, I don't think you need a terribly complex set of rules and structures. If you practice the basics well enough, even standing meditation can open all your channels and give you that kind of access and control. These are a hack, and they get you there much faster once you start to hit those certain levels and stages. But you can't rush it. You got to wait till the body tells you so, or the coach or the teacher tells you, okay, you're ready for that next level, because I can feel that flow. I can feel that energy in these points of the body, or I can see it. And so it takes time. But other things that could be integrated, right? There are points of tension. In certain martial arts practices, we add tensing parts of the body. We might breathe in, tense, clench the molars, maybe even tense the hands or the abdomen. These are ways of integrating, a little bit of tension. So there are two things that move energy in the body primarily, right? Will, or your focus, and tension, physical tension, which is why you got to train, right? This is not anything terribly mystical. This is just how the machine works. Anytime that you are lifting weights in the gym, you're doing a bicep curl, what's happening, right? Mind or brain is sending a signal to the arm, contract the bicep moves the forearm. I just did a bicep curl, but what's happening, I'm sending electrical impulses from the brain through the spine down into the extremity, and I'm doing work with it, right? That's Qigong. Congratulations. If you've ever gone to the gym or done anything ever, you are a Qigong master, at least on a base level. What we're trying to do is get to that level of proficiency and coordination without needing a contraction or a dictated movement at the end. We're trying to move that energy for its own sake, right? Might sound a little woo-woo or mystical until you felt it, but once you have, it's one of those things that you can't really go back from. So, yeah, that's where we're at, guys. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Like I said, you're not going to do it once. Well, maybe. You might do it once and magic might happen. Never count out good luck. It can happen, but look, it might take you weeks. And as I said, standing meditation, minimum 4 to 6 weeks. Followed by Hollow Man practice, minimum 4 to 6 weeks. And then small universe practice, 4 to 6 weeks before we head into the channeling. Might take longer, might take shorter, don't really know. But I would say at least try to establish a base in terms of time investment into that before you start to experiment and play with the next level, because the worst thing you can do is try it, nothing happens, and then you say, wow, useless. Just going to abandon, just going to jump ship, abandon the path. And with that, guys, any questions, drop them in the comments. I do have these 3 progressions highlighted, detailed in my second book, The Essence of Lightness. I occasionally coach them in my programs. You can see the links in the description, but book in the description, questions in the comments, and I'll see you in the next video. Be weightless, guys.